room was silent. Not the kind of silence that feels calm. This one felt heavy, like the air itself was watching. A single light hung from the ceiling, swinging slowly, back and forth, back and forth. Each movement made a soft, creaking sound, the kind that makes your skin feel tight. In the center of the room, a man sat tied to a chair. His name was Daniel. His face was bruised, his lips were dry, but his eyes were wide open, not begging, not crying, just waiting. Across from him stood another man. We never see his full face, only his shadow, tall, still, watching. On the floor between them lay a small, worn-out diary. Its cover was dark red. It looked old, used, important. The man in the shadows bent down slowly. He picked up the diary and flipped it open, page after page. His voice was calm when he spoke. "You wrote everything down." Daniel swallowed hard. His throat moved, but no words came out. The man turned another page. "You thought no one would ever read this." The light above flickered once. Daniel finally spoke. His voice was weak. I didn't know it would end like this." The man let out a small laugh, cold, short. "But you did." He held up the diary, "because you already wrote it." Daniel's breathing became faster. His chest rose and fell like he was trying to outrun something inside him. "No," he whispered. "That part, I didn't mean that part." The man stepped closer. "Then why is it here?" He turned the diary around and showed Daniel a page. Daniel looked at it, and his face changed. His eyes widened, not just fear, something deeper, recognition, because written on that page was this exact moment. The chair, the room, the light swinging above, and the final line, "He will beg at the end." Daniel shook his head quickly. No, I didn't write that. I didn't." But the handwriting was his. Every letter, every word. The man in the shadows leaned in close. "Stories are strange things, Daniel." He paused. "Sometimes they don't stay stories." The light flickered again. Then everything went still. Daniel's voice broke. "Please." The man didn't answer. He simply closed the diary, and the light went out. Wait, what led to this? 3 weeks earlier. The diary was never meant to be found. It was hidden inside a small wooden drawer in Daniel's apartment, locked, forgotten, or at least that's what Daniel believed. Daniel was a quiet man. He worked at a small publishing office in the city. Nothing special, just editing stories, fixing grammar, making sure everything made sense. He liked simple things, morning coffee, soft music, late-night writing, because Daniel had a secret. He wrote stories, dark ones, stories about people, about fear, about things going wrong. But he never showed them to anyone. He kept them in that diary. Every night he would sit at his desk, open the worn-out book, and write. Not type, write with a pen, slowly, carefully, like each word mattered. At first, the stories were normal, fiction. A man gets lost in the woods, a woman hears voices in her house, things like that. But then, something changed. It started small. One night, Daniel wrote about a man losing his wallet on the street. Just a simple story. The next day, Daniel lost his wallet. He didn't think much of it, just bad luck. But then it happened again. He wrote about a broken elevator. The next day, the elevator in his building stopped working. Again, strange, but maybe just coincidence. That's what Daniel told himself, until the stories became too close. One night, Daniel wrote about his neighbor arguing loudly on the phone. The next night, it happened. Exactly as he described. Same words, same anger, same ending. Daniel started to feel uneasy. He went back to the diary and read the stories again. Every detail was there. things he couldn't have guessed, things that hadn't happened yet when he wrote them. He closed the diary quickly that night. His hands were shaking. "This is stupid," he said to himself. "Just coincidence." But deep down, he didn't believe that anymore. The next day, Daniel tried something. He decided to test it. That night, he opened the diary again. His heart was beating fast. He held the pen tightly. Then he wrote a simple line. "Tomorrow it will rain all day." The sky had been clear for weeks. No clouds, no signs of rain. He closed the diary and waited. The next morning, he woke up early. He walked to the window and froze. Dark clouds filled the sky. Thunder rumbled in the distance. And then, rain. Heavy, endless rain. Daniel stepped back slowly. "No," he whispered. "This can't be real." But it was. The rain didn't stop all day, not for a second. Daniel didn't leave his apartment. He just sat there, staring at the diary, afraid to touch it, afraid to open it, because if this was real, then what else could it do? That night, he made a decision. He would stop writing, forever. He took the diary, walked to the drawer, locked it inside, and threw the key away. "That's it," he said. "No more." For a few days, things felt normal again. No strange events, no impossible moments. Daniel started to relax. Maybe it was all in his head. Maybe he was just tired. Maybe he imagined everything. Until, one evening, Daniel came home from work. He opened his door, stepped inside.
And stopped. The drawer was open. His heart skipped. He slowly walked closer. The diary was gone. Daniel's hands started to shake again. "No, no, no!" He searched the apartment, every room, every corner. Nothing. The diary had disappeared. That night, Daniel didn't sleep. He sat in the dark, listening to every sound. Every small movement made his heart jump. By morning, he looked exhausted. But something inside him had changed. Fear. Real fear. Because if the diary was gone, then someone had taken it. And if someone had it, then they could read it. And if they could read it, they would know everything. Every story, every future event, every dark thought he had ever written. Daniel grabbed his jacket and rushed out. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew one thing. He had to find that diary before someone else did. That same day, across the city, a man sat alone in a quiet room. The diary rested on the table in front of him. He ran his fingers over the cover slowly, then opened it. His eyes moved across the pages, reading, understanding, smiling. "Interesting," he whispered. He turned another page, then another, until he reached something that made him stop. A new entry, fresh ink, still clear, still sharp. He read it once, then again, and then he laughed softly, because the story wasn't finished yet, and for the first time, he realized something important. This wasn't just a diary, it was a script, and someone was already playing their part. Back in his apartment, Daniel stared at his phone. A message had appeared. Unknown number. Just one line. "I'm reading your story." Daniel's breath caught. Another message followed. "It ends badly for you." His hands trembled as he typed. "Who is this?" The reply came instantly. "Someone who knows how your story ends." Daniel's chest tightened. "Give it back!" There was a pause. Then the final message appeared. "Come and get it." An address followed. Daniel stared at it, his heart pounding louder than ever. Because deep inside, he already knew. This wasn't just a meeting. This was the beginning of something much worse. And somewhere, on a page he hadn't written yet, this moment already existed. Daniel did not think. He did not stop to question. He just moved. The address on his phone burned into his mind as he rushed out of his apartment. His steps were fast, uneven, almost desperate. The city around him felt different now, louder, darker, like every corner was watching him. Cars passed, people talked, life went on. But for Daniel, everything had changed. Because somewhere out there, a stranger was reading his future. The address led him to an old part of the city, a place where buildings stood too close together, where paint peeled off the walls, where lights flickered even in the daytime. Daniel slowed down as he approached the building. It was tall, broken windows, rusted doors, the kind of place people avoided. He stood outside for a moment, his chest rising and falling. "This is a mistake," he whispered, but his feet moved anyway. Inside, the air was thick. Dust floated in the dim light. Each step echoed. Daniel looked around carefully. "Hello?" he called out. No answer, just silence. Then, a voice. Upstairs. Daniel froze. The voice was calm, too calm. He looked toward the staircase, dark, narrow, waiting. For a second, he thought about running, leaving, forgetting everything. But then he remembered the diary and what it could do. He couldn't walk away from that. Not anymore. Each step upstairs felt heavier than the last. The wood creaked under his feet. His hand brushed the wall to steady himself. Cold. When he reached the top, the hallway stretched long and empty. One door at the end, slightly open, light coming from inside. Daniel swallowed, then walked forward, slowly, carefully. He pushed the door open. The room was almost empty. A table, 2 chairs, and the diary, right there, in the center. Daniel's eyes locked onto it instantly. His body moved before his mind could stop him. He stepped forward, but then, "Stop!" The voice again, closer this time. Daniel turned, and there he was, the man from the messages, standing in the corner, half hidden in shadow, tall, still, watching. "You came," the man said. Daniel's voice shook. "Give it back!" The man smiled faintly. Straight to the point. He walked slowly toward the table. His hand rested on the diary. "You wrote something very special here." Daniel clenched his fists. "It's not yours!" The man tilted his head. "Not anymore." He opened the diary, flipped through a few pages. "I've been reading all morning. Very interesting life you have." Daniel stepped forward again. "I said, give it back!" The man's eyes lifted, sharp, cold. "Careful," he said softly. "You might not like what comes next." Daniel stopped. Something in the man's voice felt wrong. Too certain. Too prepared. "What do you mean?" The man turned a page, then read aloud. Daniel steps forward, his hands shaking. He demands the diary again. Daniel's breath caught. He couldn't finish, because it was happening, right now, exactly as written. The man looked up. "You see the problem?" Daniel's heart pounded. "You're reading it while it happens." The man nodded slowly. "And sometimes, before it happens." Daniel felt a chill run through his body. No, that's not possible." The man smiled again. "Then why are you here?" Daniel's mind raced. If the man could read ahead, then he knew what Daniel would do next. Every move, every word, every choice. Which meant Daniel had no control. "Stop reading it," Daniel said quickly. The man raised an eyebrow. Why would I do that? Because it's dangerous. The man laughed softly. For who? Daniel didn't answer because he knew it was dangerous for him. The man flipped another page. His expression changed slightly. Curious. Then amused. Well, he said, this is new. Daniel's chest tightened. What? The man looked at him. You didn't finish the story. Daniel frowned. What do you mean? The man turned the diary so Daniel could see. The last written line stopped suddenly, mid-sentence, like the story had been cut off. Daniel stared at it. I don't remember writing that. The man closed the diary slowly. That's because you didn't. Silence filled the room, heavy, uncomfortable. Then the man stepped closer. For the first time, he said, the story isn't complete. Daniel's mind struggled to catch up. So what happens next? The man's smile faded. That's the interesting part. He leaned in slightly. We find out. Before Daniel could react, the man suddenly grabbed him, fast, stronger than Daniel expected. He pushed him back into the chair. Daniel struggled. Let me go! But the man was already tying him his hands. Tight, precise, like he had done this before. Wait! Stop! Daniel shouted. But the man didn't stop. He finished tying him down, then stepped back, calm again, controlled. Daniel's breathing was heavy now, panic rising. What are you doing? The man picked up the diary, opened it. I'm letting the story continue. Daniel shook his head. No, you can't. But the man raised a hand. Quiet. He looked down at the blank space on the page, then picked up a pen. Daniel froze. What are you doing? The man didn't look up. Improving your story. The pen touched the paper, and he began to write. Daniel watched in horror. Every movement of the pen felt wrong. This wasn't how it worked. He was the writer, not this man, not anyone else. You can't write in it. It won't work. The man stopped, looked at him, then smiled again. Let's test that.
Not commanding anymore, not powerful, just human. Daniel's heart pounded. This isn't real, he said quickly. This isn't real. But even as he said it, he knew it was real, because the diary was still writing. The man who tried to control the story becomes part of it. The man's breathing became uneven. No, I didn't write that, he said. His hand shook as he flipped through the pages, looking for something, anything. But every page now looked the same, moving, changing, alive. Make it stop, Daniel shouted. The man looked at him, eyes wide. I can't! The figure stepped forward again, this time toward the man, slow, deliberate. Each step echoed in the silent room. The man backed away. No, stay back! He grabbed the pen again, quick, desperate. I can fix this, he said. He pressed the pen hard against the paper, trying to write, trying to change it. Nothing happened. The ink didn't move. The pen felt dead. It won't work, whispered Daniel. The man looked at him. Why? Daniel swallowed hard. Because it's not yours anymore. The figure was closer now, too close. The man stumbled backward. His hand hit the table. The diary fell to the floor, landing open, still writing. The end is already decided. No! The man shouted. He turned to run, but the figure was faster. It reached him, grabbed his arm. The man screamed, a real scream, full of fear, full of regret. Help me! He shouted. But Daniel couldn't move, couldn't help, could only watch. The light above began to swing again, back and forth, just like before. The room felt familiar now, too familiar. Daniel's eyes widened.
because suddenly he remembered, not a memory, but a feeling like he had already lived this moment. The chair, the light, the silence, the opening. This already happened, Daniel whispered. The diary flipped one last page, the final entry, clear, sharp, waiting. The man will fall. The figure pulled the man closer. The struggle stopped, the scream cut off, and then silence. The man dropped to the floor, still, not moving. Daniel stared, frozen, his mind blank. The figure turned slowly, now facing him again. "No!" Daniel whispered, his voice barely there. The diary wrote again, the final lines. The last witness remains. He will understand, too late. Daniel shook his head. Tears filled his eyes. "I didn't want this. I didn't write this." The figure stepped closer. "You did," a voice said. Daniel froze, because the voice didn't come from behind him. It came from behind him. Slowly, very slowly, Daniel turned his head, and what he saw made his body go cold. Another chair, behind him, hidden in the shadows, and in that chair, someone else was sitting, holding a pen, writing. Daniel's breath stopped, because the face looked exactly like his. Same eyes, same scars, same fear. The other Daniel looked up, calm, quiet, and said, "I'm just finishing the story." The real Daniel shook his head. No, this isn't real." The other Daniel smiled slightly. "It was never your story." He looked down, wrote the final sentence, and as the pen lifted, the light above went out. Darkness, complete silence. The diary closed, and somewhere, on a page no one would ever read again, the story ended.